Tonight, emergency cash offered to Bunbury residents still reeling from a freak tornado. Fears over farmers' mental health as calls grow for an export ban to be overturned. A floating tribute honouring the lives of two Perth brothers murdered in Mexico. Plus the big pre-budget promise. Treasurer Jim Chalmers vows to make life easier, but at what cost? Thousands lace up for a good cause as families unite across our suburbs to celebrate Mother's Day. And an eagle hospitalised as West Coast go down in a thumping defeat against Collingwood.
This is 9 News Perth with Natalia Cooper.
Good evening. There's cash relief tonight for Bunbury residents whose homes were torn apart by a freak tornado. Payments of up to $4,000 will be available for property owners devastated by the storm as the mammoth cleanup continues.
Picking up the pieces, debris scattered along Bunbury streets, homes without roofs, shattered windows, SES hard at work. 2 days on from a freak tornado, WA's biggest regional city has a big clean-up ahead.
There was just tiles everywhere since the SES have been and out the back, just trying to lift the spirits a bit.
So far, 7 homes have been deemed uninhabitable. There's damage to about 100, as well as commercial buildings, an apartment block and Bunbury Prison. The Southwest Sports Centre and PCYC destroyed.
This has been a very frightening occasion for those who are impacted directly.
The Premier releasing relief payments from midday today. $4,000 for those whose homes have been obliterated, up to $2,000 for anyone with severe damage.
Every bit of money helps.
The Premier's payment is really to help people over the next few days to find their feet, to find temporary accommodation where they need to if we're not providing it, or to pay for clothes or whatever they might need.
The clean-up, a complicated task with a hazmat warning in place due to potential asbestos. People in an area bounded by Hudson Drive, Bustle Highway, Washington Drive and Ocean Drive in Withers warned to take precautions.
They need to wear appropriate PPE or respiratory protection. They can, of course, ring DFES and get assistance through that means as well.
In that exclusion zone, we are hopeful that in the next 2 to 3 days we will have that sort of finalised, and we're very comfortable with the progress that's been made.
Tonight, power has been restored across Bunbury as authorities continue to calculate the cost of a storm unlike anything we've ever seen. Brittany Hoskins, 9 News.
As WA farmers continue to battle drought, there's more anger tonight over the decision to phase out live sheep exports, with fears it'll have a major impact on mental health. The Premier today labelling the federal government's decision devastating as calls grow for the ban to be overturned.
A blow for WA farmers at the hands of the Labor government. Not even the Premier can deny.
This is obviously devastating news for WA farmers.
24 hours on from the decision to ban live sheep exports by 2028, there's now concerns for farmers' mental health. The $107 million transition package slammed as not enough.
As part of this very small compensation package, there's money in there for mental health. So Murray Watt knows what he's doing to farmers. He knows what he's doing to those farming families. He's putting them under enormous stress.
The decision will cost WA $123 million a year and 400 jobs, according to state government modelling.
We know that the farming industry is an incredibly resilient one, and we'll obviously stand by them and to do what we can to assist them in this transition.
Labor's decision to ban live exports is bad for WA farmers, it's bad for WA families, and it's bad for the Western Australian economy.
Also part of the package, money to boost domestic processing.
There's every likelihood there will actually be less processing in this state as a result of this decision. So that won't solve the problem they've caused.
The best farms in WA are a combination of grain growing and sheep production. You take that sheep out, you're now down to one commodity.
Despite the ban still being 4 years away, farmers say other industries are now at risk, fearing cattle are next in the firing line.
Animal activists will close in on the cattle industry and they'll be next. If I was a cattle producer, I would be very frightened today.
Sarah Smith, 9 News.
A 16-year-old boy who allegedly wielded a knife through Westfield Carousel has fronted the Children's Court, accused of a violent assault 3 months before the knife scare. The court hearing the teen assaulted a man in February. Police say the teenager was armed with a knife when he got into a fight with a 20-year-old at the shopping centre late Friday afternoon, allegedly stealing a second knife from Kmart. He was granted bail and is due to face court again tomorrow. The Treasurer has declared things will get easier ahead of Tuesday night's federal budget, with fresh funding details revealed to help with the long-running cost of living crisis. While Jim Chalmers is set to deliver a surplus, he's acknowledged struggling Australians still need more help.
Sort of long-term strategy. On Mother's Day morning, the words families everywhere were hoping for.
Well, the budget will make things a little bit easier for people, whether it's a tax cut or other cost of living help.
That will include assistance for pensioners and Australians on job seeker payments, electricity bill relief and an $8.5 billion health spend, including $227 million for 29 new urgent care clinics.
Importantly, free of charge, all fully bulk billed and taking real pressure off our crowded hospital emergency departments.
The budget will deliver a surplus led by resource prices and lower unemployment, meaning more Australians working and paying tax. The first back-to-back budgets in the black since Peter Costello 16 years ago.
The test for the budget, and the most important one, is that it's got to bring down Labor's homegrown inflation.
So we're making progress in the fight against inflation, but we know it's not mission accomplished because people are still doing it tough.
The Reserve Bank will give the ultimate verdict by raising or lowering interest rates. Expected jumps in the wages of childcare and aged care workers will hit the bottom line, with the cost of adding super payments to paid parental leave revealed at $600 million a year.
Women who are taking time out to care for children would lose that super and their earnings, and we know over the long term that's going to hit them and hit their superannuation savings.
As well as dollars, the budget must deliver detail on the government's signature Future Made in Australia policy. It will guide decision-making to the election and beyond.
We do need private sector-led investment right now. We don't need government to do the investment, we need the private sector.
Tonight the budget is printed, packed and in Parliament House. Australian households, though, will have to wait just a little longer. Charles Crouch, 9 News.
And we'll bring you a special budget bulletin on Tuesday night. Full coverage here on 9 from 9:50. A moving tribute has been held in San Diego for the two Perth brothers murdered in Mexico. Jake and Callum Robinson honoured in a paddle out as the community embraced the boys' heartbroken parents.
Sometimes solace is found in the stories and in the embrace of a community. San Diego wrapping its arms around the parents of Callum and Jake Robinson and each other.
We'll never understand why this had to happen to such beautiful souls. Use this day to bring us closer together, to share memories, lean on one another, and love like these men would want us to do.
Callum's lacrosse team paying tribute to the beautiful and bright human.
That guy was a ball of sunshine, man. I'm so grateful that my path crossed with his here in San Diego. He was just brought so much energy and passion and joy to everything he was a part of.
His energy was unmatched. Like absolutely unmatched, and it was a magnet. He was a magnet.
The larger-than-life Australian they called the Big Koala.
He's just a kind-hearted dude, never had anything bad to say about anyone, and just always had a smile on, cracking jokes.
The Robinson brothers had a passion for sport, for being outdoors. Their final days in Mexico, alongside their American friend Jack Carter Road, were spent riding the waves. Today marked a fitting tribute.
You just want to come here and celebrate what they were doing and celebrate in the community.
A surfer's farewell for an Aussie who loved the ocean. San Diego was Callum Robinson's second home. Today's paddle out in honour of the man they all adored.
During the middle of our ceremony, a large wave rolled in that felt like Callum was there with us, and everyone said, "That's Callum." So it was a truly beautiful moment to celebrate the lives of all three of them.
A moment to celebrate, a moment to reflect. Two Australian brothers who made a mark.
And it's truly amazing. You know, everybody's out here just, you know, celebrating one great person that, you know, everybody embodies to be.
In San Diego, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
South Australia is considering a bold plan banning children from social media. The Australia First move would prohibit platforms like Facebook, Instagram and TikTok for children under the age of 14, while those aged 14 and 15 will require parental permission. Only from 16 will they be able to get an account.
We're seeing shortened attention spans, addiction, anxiety, interrupted sleep. Pressure to fit into these unrealistic and curated or filtered images.
That's why we need to make laws and rules that we can police. Now, how we go about exercising those policing functions is one of the things that will be examined. The evidence is that when governments seek to make these changes, they're often resisted by big tech. But this is, I think, going to be a tsunami.
A review is currently underway into how the laws can be achieved. A new Perth-based NRL team is a step closer to becoming a reality tonight. The league's boss wants to resurrect a former franchise here and has the full support of the WA government.
Forget the rest. The North Sydney Bears are heading west. If the boss of the NRL gets his way, Peter V'landys wants to make it happen by 2030, and the WA government says it makes sense.
Only Western Australia can put the N in NRL. It's not good enough to call yourself a national code if you don't have a team in WA.
There hasn't been one here since 1997, when the Western Reds left the league, while for North Sydney, they'd re-enter the NRL after 30 years.
116 years of history and heritage, being a foundation club. We're going to take that with us, and I do know there's an enormous amount of very, very passionate administrators and staff who already support rugby league and promote rugby league in WA.
There isn't a deal on the table yet. This today from fans.
The Bears are the Bears, so yeah, I can put up with the Perth Bears.
V'landys has met with Roger Cook and Treasurer Rita Safiotti.
We're working about looking at facilities in Western Australia to make sure that should we secure a team that we're ready to go.
It follows months of rumours around an NRL expansion, the game's next big move, introducing a PNG team in 3 years' time at the earliest. Negotiations underway with the PM for a $600 million package to bankroll their side. Then, possibly, by 2030, introduction of the Bears in Perth, with a 20th team not far behind.
I know the Sydney Bears have been working with NRL WA in relation to what a possible bid for an expanded competition might look like, and we stand ready to support that bid.
9 News understands there's market research that proves Perth's potential. Our population has doubled since the days of the Western Reds, and our time zone adds value to a broadcast deal. Perth's Origin experiment has been a sellout success. We'll again host next year and in 2028. And the Rabbitohs play the Dolphins here in August. Many believe a WA team is worth a second try. Michael Genovese, 9 News.
As leaders plan how to turn Brisbane into a household name for the 2032 Olympics, designers have begun working on our official emblems for the Games. 9 News exclusively sat down with the team designing the logos that will become our official symbols here and around the world.
Sydney had the Millennium Man, London had the polygons, and Paris has the flame or face dubbed Marianne. But what can Brisbane expect?
We need a brand that people remember. We need a brand that resonates with people emotionally. And we need something, I think, that people want to talk about.
Media and advertising company VML has been chosen to lead the consortium of agencies to come up with the emblems for both the Brisbane Olympic and Paralympic Games.
We have gone through the process of research, strategy, engagement with more than 3,000 people to understand what the true elements should be.
They remain tight-lipped for now, but are giving some hints.
Things like reflecting the natural environment of our state. You know, it's something that's really iconic about Queensland and about Brisbane.
3 First Nations design students have been hired as interns to help.
Queensland, well, you've got mateship, which is the obvious one, and then you've just got growing, the changing.
The iconic
parts of Brisbane like the bridge, the river.
Los Angeles 2028 is taking a new approach. They're creating endless variations with an evolving A. Melbourne was quite literal in 1956, pointing to the city on a map. Whatever Brisbane emblems are eventually created, we could have to wait until 2027 until they're revealed.
It needs to be 100% true of Brisbane. We want something that people from Brisbane can be really proud of, that all of the people from Queensland, Australia can see themselves in just a little bit.
So far, no one's suggested an ibis. Josh Babbis, 9 News.
West Australians have made the most of Mother's Day, celebrating mums far and wide with flowers, long lunches and picnics in the park. Thousands braving an early start, pounding the pavement for a good cause.
If there's one event that perfectly embodies Mother's Day, it's this one.
For me, my mum is actually, I'm going to cry, my mum's going through breast cancer at the moment. So I came out here as support for all the people that are going through that.
Mums in Perth front and centre, jogging, running or walking in honour of those who've had breast or ovarian cancer for the Mother's Day Classic.
Oh, it just means so much to me. I'll get teary now. It just means a lot to me to have my daughters here, my husband and my sisters.
The event, one of the country's biggest fun runs.
They wanted to find a day where they could really give back to mums, and by doing that and opening that option to go out for a walk with their family was a way to be inclusive but also to raise money for a really good cause.
In the 26-year history of the Mother's Day Classic, $44 million has been raised for breast cancer research. That effort continuing with mothers and families here today and across the country. Across our suburbs, mums and kids enjoyed time together, some even braving the cool May waters.
Started off the day right with a beach swim.
I'm seeing my newly born granddaughter.
Kings Park filled with families, local florists experiencing one of their maddest rushes of the year.
And then they saw the flowers, like, oh no, I forgot Mum's flowers. So they were just juggling it.
Early in the
yes,
morning.
Early this morning we were here. We're here at 6:30 this morning.
For many mothers, a day to be recognised and bring family together.
It's just beautiful to get everybody out and active on Mother's Day and to get our kids out here celebrating with us too.
Genevieve Lamond.
Happy Mother's Day!
9 News.
Cloudy and gloomy skies for Mother's Day today, but Emma Griffiths, it was slightly warmer than expected.
It certainly was, Natalia. 26 degrees was meant to be our maximum today, but instead we started with a low of 13.8 degrees before climbing to a top of 27.1 just before 3 this afternoon. Pierce, the warmest place to be today, 28.6 there, and those enjoying the Swan Valley today for Mother's Day not far behind at 28.2. We could see some showers and gusty thunderstorms over much of the state tomorrow, including the central Gascoyne and northern central west district. Moderate to heavy falls are possible with thunderstorms in our Gascoyne south, and there's a chance of thunderstorms over the east and south coast district and parts of the Great Southern. It's a mixed bag though when it comes to the weather tomorrow, Natalia, but I'll have all the details a little later in the bulletin.
OK, looking forward to it. Thanks, Emma. WA stargazers treated to another dazzling display. How the Aurora Australis lit up the night sky again. Those incredible pictures next. The number of international students trying to extend their stay down under hits a new record. Plus, a disqualification, protests and police on scene. High drama at the world's biggest music contest. And Prince Harry breaks a sweat during his brief trip with wife Meghan. That's next. A man has been charged after he allegedly robbed a Welshpool Cloud9 store armed with an axe. The 35-year-old's accused of threatening a staff member and demanding cash before fleeing the shop. He'll face court tomorrow. International students seeking study visas from inside Australia has hit a record high. Applications surged to 35,000 in March, according to the Bureau of Statistics. That's compared to between 9,000 and 20,000 in the past 2 years. These figures come despite the federal government's promise to dramatically cut student numbers entering Australia. Offstage drama stole the show at Eurovision, with Switzerland winning the controversial contest. There were disqualifications, accusations of rule breaking and protesters detained by police. All of that before the final even started.
Live
Sweden.
This year's slogan for Eurovision is United by Music, but hours before the final, the world's biggest music contest was in disarray. Dutch entry Just Klein disqualified, accused by a production camerawoman of making a threatening motion backstage. The allegation prompting Swedish police to investigate.
This is completely unprecedented. There has never been an expulsion at this late stage in the competition before.
Dutch TV weighing in, calling the punishment disproportionate. Irish entry Bambi Thug causing further confusion by not showing up to the flag ceremony, upset with comments made by the Israeli broadcaster. French performer Silliman breaking Eurovision rules, interrupting his dress rehearsal to make a political statement.
We need to be united by music, yes, but with love.
The event, held in Sweden, which won last year, has had as much controversy as competition. Another large protest in Malmö over Israel's inclusion in the contest. 2 people detained by police. There'd been similar demonstrations all week.
You can't throw bombs with one hand and glitter with another hand.
The final finally getting underway with a message from Crown Princess Victoria and a nod to Swedish pop royalty ABBA, 50 years on from their win. 25 nations bringing colour, choreography and creativity. Switzerland's Nemo finding all the right notes, winning over the judges and viewers to beat Croatia and France.
There we go.
Wow!
Winners of Eurovision 2024.
The crowd coming together to close out a very divided Eurovision contest. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
The Israeli military has told thousands more Palestinians to leave Rafah, suggesting an expansion of its military campaign in southern Gaza. Flyers dropped from the air telling residents to head for an expanded humanitarian zone. Almost 100,000 people are estimated to have turned out to Donald Trump's beachfront rally on the Jersey Shore. The former president returning to the campaign trail after an explosive week of testimony in his hush money trial in New York. Trump telling the crowd he could win the state of New Jersey in the upcoming election. Sean Diddy Combs has asked a US judge to dismiss a sexual assault lawsuit against him. The rapper and 2 co-defendants are accused of sex trafficking and raping a 17-year-old girl in 2003. The 54-year-old's attorney saying it was a false and hideous claim that was filed too late under the law. Prince Harry has joined Nigerian athletes for a game of sitting volleyball during his 3-day trip to the country. Wife Meghan watching on from the sidelines, receiving flowers and paintings from local children. It's the most powerful Aurora Australis event in more than a century. For a second night in a row, the rare solar storm has put on a dazzling display as the spectacular force of nature transformed the WA sky.
It's the celestial show taking over our southern skies. The Aurora Australis, a mesmerising and magical moment in time.
It's always been a bucket list to see, but I've never thought we'd actually see it. So seeing it with your eye, you're like, wow, this is actually pretty sick. It's unreal.
It being on your doorstep's pretty cool.
Shade of pink, purple, green and blue transforming the night sky in our own backyard, a beauty to behold.
Awe-inspiring. It was like, wow. And we didn't have to travel all the way to, the Northern Hemisphere to see it.
The series of solar flares are the product of the strongest geometric storm to reach Earth in 20 years.
When these coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, head towards Earth, they can interact with our magnetic field and our atmosphere, and that can result in auroras being visible further north or further south from the poles than what we're used to.
The natural wonder revealed itself across WA early yesterday morning and again overnight, as well as in Tasmania, Victoria, South Australia and even as far north as Mackay in Queensland.
We've got more charged particles that are interacting with the gases in our upper atmosphere and creating this beautiful aurora display that is creeping quite high up into Australia.
If you missed the show, there is a slight chance the sky could light up again here in WA tonight.
It should still be active tonight between around 10 and 2 a.m. It's certainly one of those evenings that if you can go outside and try and get a glimpse, it's well worth it.
The storm is starting to ease though, so your best chance is to drive out of the city away from the lights and look to the south. Emma Griffiths, 9 News.
It really is so beautiful, and the spectacle has continued across the Northern Hemisphere. Canada, Europe and even northern parts of the US and China able to witness the phenomenon for a second night. The show of Northern Lights expected to last across their weekend. A major breakthrough made by WA scientists. Next on 9 News, how the new cystic fibrosis treatment will be trialled overseas. He made global headlines, now a tragic update on the patient who received a pig kidney transplant. Plus, the Aussie volleyballer using cutting-edge technology in his quest for Olympic gold. And the cheeky turtle who stole the show at a US baseball game. That's next. WA scientists have developed a new treatment to reduce the risk of infection for those living with cystic fibrosis. It's a simple inhaler designed to help make antibiotics more effective, and after early success, now about to be trialled overseas.
Sienna O'Reilly has lived with cystic fibrosis her whole life. Now 17 years old, even the smallest of daily tasks can be a struggle.
Getting together socially with friends and my schooling and even going to work, it's definitely had an impact on the way I have energy.
The Year 12 student taking it day by day, but making the difficult decision to drop ATAR due to the high workload.
I kind of just live in my bed in those days, and yeah, it's hard to get anything done. And whilst I want to get things done, it's also I want to, but I just don't have the energy for it.
Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder that causes severe damage to the lungs, digestive system and other organs, and occurs in about 1 in 2,500 births.
At the moment there are limited treatment options, and children have to spend extended time in hospital, which really impacts their lives.
I'd be out of breath from running and participating in sport classes. I'd get leg cramps and stuff like that.
Researchers at the Telethon Kids Institute are exploring the effectiveness of a new drug, an antibiotic booster in the form of an inhalant, with an aim to improve the effectiveness of antibiotics in those who've built up an immunity to the drugs.
That has taken 2 to 3 years to get to this stage, and now we're very excited. Not only did we improve the killing effect of the antibiotic on the germs, but it also improved lung function by almost 3 times more than the patients who took the standard antibiotic alone.
If it means a change in the things I'll be able to do and the things I'll feel well for, that's great, and not just for me as well, for other kids.
Emma Griffiths, 9 News.
Oscar-winning filmmaker Roger Corman, who helped create low-budget classics such as Little Shop of Horrors, has died aged 98. Known as the King of the Bees, he also gave many of Hollywood's most famous actors and directors their early breaks, his family remembering him as generous, open-hearted and kind to all those who knew him. The man who received the first ever pig kidney transplant in the world has died. The 62-year-old underwent the procedure in Massachusetts General Hospital in March. The hospital emphasising there was no indication his death was due to the transplant. Australia's top men's beach volleyball team leaves next week on their final stint to secure a spot in their first Olympic Games. From their training base at the AIS in Adelaide, Zach Schubert and Tom Hodges could very well be the surprise packet of Paris.
They're the accidental combination set to go all the way to the Olympic Games.
We were both doing rehab together. For quite a long time while all the other pairs are out overseas playing.
We got pretty lucky because we were both injured at the time,
so we kind of needed each other.
There was no instant chemistry between Loxton lad Zach Schubert and Melbourne's Tom Hodges. Instead, a slow burn which ignited spectacularly last year.
Australia are the champions!
The last 2 years have been like all first time everything for us, and we're, to be honest, we're just loving it and taking it in.
The 28-year-old doesn't need to venture outside his family for inspiration. Cousin Grant Schubert, part of Australia's first Olympic men's hockey gold medal in 2004.
I love talking to him too, just about like the Olympic dream and chasing like training and attitudes, and yeah, Grant's been like a role model for me.
Heading home to the Riverland is Zach's plan post-volleyball, where his edible insect business, Shoe Bugs, is already buzzing.
My dad and myself have like taken on the challenge to try and be like the biggest insect producers in Australia. There's a massive market for reptiles here in Australia, so that's a nice stepping stone, but the end goal is going to be the human consumption stuff.
Before then, France is calling. Australia's men have never won an Olympic medal, but now a new high-tech training tool could prove to be a game changer. One of the first countries in the world to utilise GPS technology, tracking athletes' jump counts, acceleration and training loads.
We're an early adopter in beach volleyball, so we're learning a lot about what the demands of the sport is about now.
Hoping for any edge as they embark on their final qualifying events and the chance to dig for gold in the shadows of the Eiffel Tower.
What can stop them now? Like, we could go to the podium for sure. This team, they've got world-class weapons, which is really exciting.
And I've had a shoulder reconstruction where I had moments where I wasn't sure if I was ever going to make it back to the same level, and Zach had double knee surgery, and he certainly had his moments where he wasn't sure if he was ever going to make it back. So to pair up together and to go on this journey together and be so close now is very exciting. If Tom and myself are blessed to be able to win an Olympic gold medal or a medal at that level, it'll be the first time, and that will be something really cool for the history books.
Vicky Schwartz, 9 News.
A slow pitch invasion caused delays to a baseball game in the US, with a turtle making its way onto the outfield. As players attempted to herd the animal away, it responded with a surprising display of speed before being carried to safety. Accessing a doctor is one of the biggest barriers for kids in the bush. Ahead on 9 News, one charity's big plan to make it easier. Plus, surf's up for this kangaroo in Bondi. Those pictures right after sport. But first, here's Paddy Sweeney with sport. And Paddy, a painful day for the Eagles.
In more ways than one, Natalia. A heavy loss made worse with a gun defender hospitalised. Gov grounded, the body blows keep coming as the Magpies swoop. Nothing to crow about. Adelaide and Brisbane's finals hopes in limbo, and Novak's no-risk policy to tennis. Jeremy McGovern has been hospitalised and the Eagles handed their second largest defeat of the year at the hands of Collingwood. The reigning premiers blowing the game open in the first half en route to a return to the top 8. Jack Petrocelli suffering an ankle injury, while Jack Darling could be in trouble for a head-high hit.
Fronting it in for Magpies, flying high and non-negotiable for the Eagles. Harley Reid's hang time, one of few highlights on a day to forget.
Yeah, we're disappointed and probably played differently than how we've been playing lately, which is not ideal.
Anytime the Eagles showed promise, their opponents responding.
Lipinski picks up, fires away, goal, and there's the answer.
3 goals in as many minutes, triggering an onslaught.
Shoot for glory.
An ankle issue ending Jack Petrocelli's day early as the Pies' makeshift forward line was falling apart.
Howe subbed down to the game.
Jeremy Howe out with an adductor strain. Harvey Harrison following him soon after with an ankle injury. The Pies 55 points clear at the main break. New forward Tyrell Dewar contributing one of only 3 Eagles' first half majors.
Dewar on debut, it's a beautiful strike. And Darling recognising the moment, which is a big one for the young man.
Going from bad to worse, Jeremy McGovern's day over, taken to hospital with an internal injury.
The elbow goes into his own rib cage.
Not good enough to come back on, and he's got a knock, so I can't give you any more.
Liam Ryan finally having an impact after 1 touch in the first half. Jack Darling in the wars and could be facing a forced holiday after this hit.
High
hard from Darling.
On club debut, Jack Bytel concussed. Craig McRae's crisis sweetened by the result. Adam Simpson facing a tougher reality. The Pies and their fans all over the Eagles.
Just got to put the next foot forward, recover as well as we can. Next player comes up and we hit Melbourne with everything we got.
Erin Harwood, 9 News.
The Lions and Crows finals hopes are hanging by a thread after playing out the second draw of the season. Brisbane blowing an 18-point final term buffer, the lead changing 13 times in a match where the margin was no greater than 3 points at any break.
In a game of small margins, nothing would split these sides.
Siren! It's a draw! They don't know how to feel.
Brisbane seemingly home, kicking the first 3 goals of the final term.
Sock it off the turf! Sock it off the turf!
But Adelaide would come again.
Isaac whips it into a frenzy.
In the dying moments, the Lions missing their chance.
Shoal misses it, Sharp doesn't, Sharp isn't.
The Crows captain unable to be the hero.
It would be nice to have an outcome though. Win or lose, you never really like painting draws.
A 91-point thumping of the Tigers, easing pressure on Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge. James Harms with an equal career-high 4 goals.
Things are opening up for him. He's got 3 in the quarter.
Adam Treloar starring with a game-high 41 disposals.
Treloar! What a finish from Adam Treloar. I don't think he can believe it.
The Tigers' casualty ward growing. Maurice Rioli suffering a syndesmosis injury, likely needing surgery. The match stopping for almost 5 minutes as he left the ground. Sam Banks concussed after a brutal head knock.
Nasty collision.
Jack Graham's return short-lived, suffering yet another hamstring setback. And Gold Coast cruising to their 5th straight win.
Another one for the Suns, and that's a terrific finish.
Smashing the Kangaroos by 68 points. And Hawk Jack Scrimshaw's been handed a 1-match ban for rough conduct on St Liam Stocker. Alexia Pesce, 9 News.
A second-half onslaught has lifted the Western Force off the bottom of the Super Rugby table. The locals in control against Fijian Drua, crossing in the opening minute. 4 tries in the final 30 minutes, sealing a crucial bonus point win, keeping the finals' hopes alive.
Inside for Horton. Horton back to Gunzo. It's showtime for the Western Force at HBF Park.
The 48-10 result, moving the Western Force to 9th on the table, now sitting only 2 points outside a potential final spot. George Kambosos insists he won't retire despite losing his IBO World Lightweight title to Vasily Lomachenko. The Ukrainian catching the Aussie with a short left before a couple of brutal body shots ended the fight. Kambosos' corner throwing the towel in with 20 seconds remaining in the 4th round.
As the towel comes in, legendary Lomachenko. He is once in a lifetime.
Kambosos' professional record now stands at 21-3. And Ange Postecoglou's Spurs are back on the winners list, still holding out hope of qualifying for the Champions League. Tottenham's comeback triumph closing the gap to 4 points behind 4th-placed Aston Villa.
Relief for Aussie Ange. The losing streak is over. A 2-1 win over Burnley keeps Tottenham's slim Champions League dream alive. Next up for Spurs, the reigning champs.
Clear blue water for Manchester City.
Manchester City is closing in on another EPL crown after a 4-0 win against Fulham. Aussies Dante Exum and Josh Green claimed bragging rights over Josh Giddey's Oklahoma City. The Mavericks lead their NBA playoff series 2-1. Controversy in the NRL.
That look from Harry Grant tells you everything you need to know.
Storm skipper Harry Grant was sin-binned and placed on report for taking out his opponent's legs.
That's the mark now. You touch his leg, doesn't matter how hard, you go to the bin.
Melbourne went down to ladder leaders Cronulla by 7 points. England great Jimmy Anderson has announced he'll retire from Test cricket in July, aged 41. And Novak Djokovic left his hotel room prepared for anything after he was struck by a drink bottle following his round 1 win in Rome. Nat Unides, 9 News.
That's all from me, Natalia. A very happy Mother's Day to yourself and all the mothers out there as well.
Thank you, Paddy. Very sweet of you. All right, next, outreach in the outback. A charity's plan to bridge the health gap for kids in the country. And Emma Griffiths, it's looking like quite a warm week ahead for mid-May.
Natalia, it's set to warm to 28 degrees for 5 days this week. I'll have all the details coming up very soon.
COVID, bushfires and floods have all fuelled demand for services to help kids in the bush struggling with behaviour and mental health issues. Charity Royal Far West says some kids are waiting up to 6 years to see a paediatrician, but it has a plan to bridge the gap.
Moustache. Oh, here's a moustache, yeah. 6-year-old Teddy McLean is receiving crucial testing and support for autism. He and his family travelled 1,000 kilometres from Burke in northern New South Wales to Manly to access a team of experts at Royal Far West.
Obviously, you'd do anything for your child, but sometimes it's very, very difficult.
Demand for help is going up for kids struggling with their behaviour, development and mental health. The rising need fuelled by COVID and natural disasters.
We're seeing so many children that are just falling through the cracks, and it's showing up on every measure.
Access to early testing and intervention is a huge struggle.
The paediatric clinics that do exist in rural New South Wales, most of them have their books closed or anything between an 18-month and 6-year wait list.
To get to the NDIS, you essentially need a letter from a paediatrician, and that can be a stumbling block for a lot of families.
This charity provides free assessments and connects families to local services, but it relies on donations. Royal Far West also receives an annual grant of $4 million from the state government, but in a submission for next month's budget, it wants that doubled to expand its model of care with new clinics in Wagga Wagga and Dubbo, the regions where demand is the highest. That will enable providers to see double the number of children who need help. Currently, Royal Far West sees about 500 kids each year.
I think that'd be absolutely phenomenal for people living in rural and remote areas.
The government acknowledges staff shortages in the bush remain a significant challenge.
This is the time to make a difference. We really need to do something now and act now.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
You've heard of skinny dipping, but have you ever seen skippy dipping? This roo was spotted cooling off in New South Wales, surprising beachgoers by spending half an hour in the waves before hopping off. Kangaroos are known to be good swimmers, but they're not often spotted surfing. Stay with us. Emma Griffiths is back with all your weather details right after this break.
Welcome back. It was a cloudy Mother's Day today before quite a gloomy afternoon. We started with a low of 13.8 degrees before climbing to a warmer top than expected of 27.1 just before 3 this afternoon. Right now it is sitting around 20 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite, a few showers and storms are over our southwest tomorrow, as well as thunderstorms for parts of the Great Southern, while we could see some gusty thunderstorms over the western and central Gascoyne and northern central west district. Around the country tomorrow, sunny skies for Brisbane, 25 the top, showers easing in Sydney, 22, Melbourne mostly sunny and Adelaide, 20 degrees. Back in the north of our state, sunny in Broome, 34, Port Hedland, 32, 28 the top in Exmouth, Marble Bar, sunshine and 32. Further south, cloudy skies for Jurien Bay, Kalgoorlie mostly sunny, 26, Bunbury cloudy and Albany 22 degrees. On the waters tomorrow, winds east to southeasterly 10 to 15 knots, then becoming east to northeasterly around 10 knots in the middle of the day. Seas below a metre, swell southwesterly 1 to 1.5 metres, then increasing up to 2 metres around the middle of the day, then decreasing during the afternoon. Around the suburbs, Joondalup partly cloudy, 28, Kalamunda 27 the top, Fremantle cloudy and 28, Mandurah and Rockingham both cloudy and 26. A warmer night tonight, 16 degrees will be the low before a cloudy top of 28 tomorrow for your Monday. Tuesday, partly cloudy and again 28. Sunny skies for Wednesday and 28 the top again. Thursday, sunshine, a touch cooler, 27. Sunny skies for Friday and we're set to reach 28 again. Saturday, mostly sunny and again 28 before a partly cloudy Sunday. 5 days over 28 degrees in the middle of May, Natalia. Hard to believe, really. and no sight of rain in Perth.
Yeah, it really is wild. Emma, thank you so much. Before we go, here's a quick look at tonight's edition of 60 Minutes.
Thanks. Tonight...
Dan is an innocent man.
Hero or traitor?
The US is making an example out of your husband? Yes.
The Top Gun fighter pilot
cannot trade those secrets away with foreign adversaries.
Accused of helping the Chinese.
So you would say these pilots are cashing in on their own country?
It's a betrayal. Now facing 65 years in prison.
So not a single other pilot has been charged?
No.
Why?
That's the million-dollar question.
His family pleads for help.
I don't have my dad anymore, he's gone.
That's tonight after the summit. Back to you.
That's 9 News this Mother's Day. I'm Natalia Cooper. Thank you for your company. From the team, enjoy your evening and good night.